Actor Michael B. Jordan was in the news this past weekend for naming his line of rum, Juve. The name quickly drew complaints of cultural appropriation from members of the Caribbean community, including Trinidad-born hip-hop artist Nicki Minaj and the Trinidad and Tobago Minister of Trade and Industry, due to its referencing a Caribbean festival that celebrates the emancipation from slavery dating all the way back to the 18th century. After criticizing the brand for being culturally appropriated, Jordan issued an apology and said he plans to change the name.
Michael B. Jordan has started a brand new rum brand, and it's called Juve. And a lot of the Caribbean community, most notably Nicki Minaj, took issue with the name of this brand new rum.
Right, and if you don't know what Juve is basically a festival that celebrates Caribbean culture and is held annually in Trinidad, Tobago, and Grenada during Carnival, but a lot of cities have their own type of Juve festivals. So Nicki Minaj took to her Instagram and she said, "I'm sure MBJ didn't intentionally do anything he thought Caribbean people would find offensive, but now that you are aware, change the name and continue to flourish and prosper."
Also in that post, Nicki Minaj gave a little bit of a history lesson on what Juve is and what it means to Caribbean culture. So after seeing that, Michael B. Jordan decided to apologize. And he said, "I just want to say on behalf of myself and my partners, our intention was never to offend or hurt a culture we love and respect and hope to celebrate and shine a positive light on. Last few days has been a lot of listening, a lot of learning, and engaging in countless community conversations.
So starting this off, joining us, we have with us our monthly contributors, and we'll get right down to it. First, would any of you all, which one of you all will be able to give us a brief explanation of what cultural appropriation is?
Yes, sure, I'll go for it.
Yes.
And, so basically, cultural appropriation is basically taking the culture of another people, their mores, the things that they do within their culture, and using it for self. And some definitions say without the approval of that particular culture. Some definitions also say those who are in power taken from those who are not in power, those who are quote unquote beneath them. And so taking their particular cultures, using it for their own culture and as their own culture, basically stealing from someone else. So it's different variations of that definition, but basically it's the same, taking from one culture and bringing to another and claiming it, for themselves.
Thank you, Brother Lawrence. And we'll go to our sister for this next question and come back to you, Brother Lawrence. So, Sister Zakiya, was Michael B. Jordan's decision to name his liquor after a term that is the name of a Caribbean Trinidadian festival cultural appropriation?
So, no, I don't believe so. And Juve is actually a French name, to be quite honest with you, right? I mean, so we're fighting over European names with a root in European colonization, slavery, and all of that. So I think this is just another diasporan war that does not need to be taking place. And to be honest with you, I mean, Nicki Minaj has her nerve. There are some people who would believe that, she has culturally appropriated Black American culture. So I'm not of the one who would get into more diasporan wars. I'm a Pan-Africanist, so I believe that, all of our roots are, in Africa, and clearly, we're all African people. So I think it was a lot of nothing, quite honestly. And for us to be fighting over that word specifically, and I understand like there's a festival and all of that. I think all of that is beautiful. So I'm not like just saying, their festival in and of itself isn't important. The name, right, is what I'm pointing out is actually a French name. So, and the fact that we don't need anything else to be dividing ourselves up over.
Wow, beautiful. And you pointed out something I didn't even realize in regards to being a French name. So, Brother Lawrence, what's your take on that?
I have a lot, but no, absolutely, it's not cultural appropriation. I mean, really in truth, we're taught to go to the root of everything. And when you get to the root of this entire thing, Juve and the carnival that comes after it is appropriated, because all of that comes from the French people. And right before the emancipation, the slave masters and their wives and the elite in the society would dress up as the lower class people and as slaves. And they would have masquerade parties called carnivals. And the slaves and the lower class people could not participate in those masquerades. And so after the emancipation, they were able to now participate. So the carnivals, the Juve, is not really ours to begin with. That's French. So it just goes to show, as my sister was saying, the deep divide that we have as a people. And until we see ourselves as one people, then we're always going to have these little knickknacks, these little bitty things that we're looking at to try to further divide us. The only difference between us in America and our people in Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean is that the ship stopped in that area first and dropped slaves off there. But we're all the same people. So we have to get past these labels and this geography and see that we all have a common experience and have to come together for total liberation as a people completely.
Beautiful. I love the response. And this is definitely going to be a clip we're going to use, because you all brought out a perspective that I haven't heard in the stuff that I've read in discussions online. And Sister Zakiya, I'll come to you with this question, because you brought up the diaspora wars. Have we, as a people in this time of our history as Blacks in the diaspora, have we been, because we've been robbed so much by Europeans, that we have now become so protective of what has become certain aspects of our culture, that now even other descendants of Africa cannot use aspects of the various cultures that we have now developed? Have we gotten to that point now that we're so protective over stuff like you just pointed out? First of all, that's a French name.
Like, first of all, right. Like, come on, my people. And, when I thought about that, I thought about Kwame Ture or Stokely Carmichael. Like, he's somewhere like, are y'all serious? As you all know, he's from Trinidad. And he would have never like said anything of the sort. He was all about the unification of African people, period. No matter where we from. Like the new language that we use today, immigrant and Black immigrant and all of that, that wasn't even in the vocabulary of people like Kwame Ture. Because he understood that the root was Africa, which is why he spent so much time there before his eventual transition, as we all know. So absolutely, I want to see us do the work that we need to be doing to make sure that African people, Black people, the world over, are united, and we are not going to be using colonizer language, colonizer definitions for things to divide ourselves up and to fight each other over it. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Wow. Thank you, sis. And what do you say, Brother Lawrence?
I agree 100%. You know, check this one quick fact about this. Once the abolishment of slavery took place there in Trinidad and Tobago, and the lower classes were able to actually participate now in this carnival, the upper class decided that they didn't want to participate in it anymore. And then they called it Jamet Carnival, which means diamatre, and is referred to the class of people below the diameter of respectability, or people from the underworld.
Damn.
So here we are fighting.
Somebody tell Nikki that, get her on the phone and make sure she's watching.
Yeah, get Nikki on the phone. And so here it is, the people who originally put this together in mockery of us.
Mm-hmm.
When we were able to become a part of it, they withdrew themselves and said, that's the lower class of people. They are from the underworld. And now we are fighting one another for a word that's not even ours, for a culture that's not even ours. And it reminds me of us taking the N word now and trying to flip the N word and make that ours and use it as a term of endearment. And it is not. And so, we have a long way to go in this thing. Once we see Africa as the root, then we can start to unify. So these territories, geographical areas are used to divide us as a people. Once we see who we are at the root, then those geographical locations will no longer matter. And we will see one another as the same brothers and sisters in the diaspora who have a common cause.
Right. Thank you. So Zakiya, I want to talk more about that in regards to that point that you brought up about these diaspora wars, right? And we'll, after your response, we'll close out. What advice or counsel can you give those who may see this that can help us avoid getting caught up in those type of wars? I know you kind of touched on a little bit, but can you go a little deeper on some of the stuff that we can do to avoid that?
Yeah, certainly. I believe, Pan-Africanism is our way. I know that a lot of people see that as academic, but it's an objective. And it's an objective for African people to use our collective power in the United States, in the Caribbean, right? Certainly on the continent. It's imperative really at this point. And I'm not, using conjecture. I mean, when you think about the advancements in technology and all of the other things that are happening economically the world over, it's really imperative for us to stop finding every little thing, small things, cultural appropriation, which is another really an academic term, that was certainly created in the academy. For us to be fighting over. It's ridiculous. And I think, we can learn a lot from our elders, quite honestly.
Thank you, sister. And thank both of you all for your marvelous responses. I can't wait to put these clips up and hear people's responses. So we're going to pause for some announcements from our sponsors. Then we'll return to talk about the outrage from right-wing conservatives about the teaching, whether they're saying, of critical race theory at West Point. We'll be right back with our contributors.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.
Worldwide, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Download the Final Call Radio app and take us everywhere. On your phone, on your computer, on your tablet, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also log on to finalcall.com and click the Listen Live button, or finalcallradio.com. Final Call Radio, the official voice of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam.
Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel at National Network View. I am Anissa Muhammad with nnvnews.com.
General Mark Milley, who's the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, defended the right of the West Point students to discuss race after some Republican congressmen complained that one seminar at the academy was recognizing critical race theory.
A seminar that over 100 cadets attended, titled Understanding Whiteness and White Rage, taught by a woman who described the Republican Party platform as a platform of white supremacy. This is going on at West Point as we speak to our future military leaders. And sir, I would encourage you, I would demand that you get to the bottom of what is going on.
But I do think it's important, actually, for those of us in uniform to be open-minded and be widely read. And the United States Military Academy is a university. And it is important that we train and we understand. And I want to understand white rage, and I'm white, and I want to understand it. So what is it that caused thousands of people to assault this building and try to overturn the Constitution of the United States of America? What caused that? I want to find that out. I want to maintain an open mind here, and I do want to analyze it. It's important that we understand that because our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians, they come from the American people. So it is important that the leaders, now and in the future, do understand.
We're back with our guest, and I'll start with you, Brother Lawrence, and then we'll go to our sister. Just starting off, what are your thoughts about just concerning this backlash faced by West Point for allowing its students to examine whiteness and white rage? What are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, well, basically my thoughts on it is that no one wants to be exposed, and people don't want to be reminded of their past, especially if it's the past is not so good. And this is what's happening here. The history of America is being exposed. It's coming back to haunt this country. And there are those who are trying to put that genie back in the bottle. And in putting it back in the bottle, they're actually creating an even bigger problem, because now that they're fighting back against this, more people are now interested and want to know more about it. And so that's the way I see it. It's just they don't want themselves to be exposed, because look, once we get exposed, now I have to either deny or acknowledge what actually took place in this country. And if I acknowledge it, then I have to do something about what took place in this country. So it's all about denial, denial, denial.
And I'll come to you. And Sister Zakiya, I'll ask you this question. It's kind of like what Brother Lawrence responded to. What do you think is at the root of the white rage that has always been present in America, but is becoming more and more present during this time that is supposed to be this post-racial society?
So, you know, Minister Farrakhan has talked about this, but I want to name Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, who has created the best definition of racism and white rage that I know of. And I think one of the things that's clear about what's happening is that certain white people understand that they are increasingly becoming a numerical minority in this country. And so there is a lot of fear really at the base of that. And so CRT, which, if we're going to be honest, is not being taught in K-12 schools, but it's a linchpin and a distraction, if you will, for the things that they really do want to enact and the things that they really do want to get passed into actual legislation. What they actually want in the United States, quite honestly, is what you had in South Africa and what you quite honestly economically still have in South Africa, is apartheid. And the reason why I bring up South Africa for any of the viewers who may not understand the history of South Africa is that you had a white minority, really a white super minority in South Africa that ran and controlled everything. And they were segregated, everything. So that's actually what the people who are, you know, making CRT their linchpin, that's actually what they're interested in doing.
Thank you, Brother Lawrence. What do you see as the root of this white rage? You know, after they're saying in this post-racial society.
Well, I agree with my sister. The actual root of it is fear. And Dr. Frances Cress Welsing said it the best. You know, genetic annihilation. And they see. Minister Farrakhan talked about Caucasian people. He said these people are scientists. They don't just act willy-nilly. They are looking at the data. And the data shows that they are becoming the minority in this country. And so, believe it or not, this is connected. You remember what, last year or maybe a year or two ago, when the southern states were outlawing and trying to pass these bills to get rid of abortion, Roe v. Wade. And these were Caucasian men trying to do away with the abortion rights. Why is that? And when you ask that question to them, they will tell you, we are becoming the minority. And they don't want their women to go and get these abortions because they are already at a zero population growth. So the root of it is fear. Qualify this, not that I'm for abortion. I'm just stating a fact of what they see. And what they see is their demise, and they don't want that. And it further, this quote unquote CRT further perpetuates that, brings that along. They're afraid. They are shaking in their boots.
Thank you.
Can I just say really quickly as a response to that? To me, these two, what we talked about earlier is connected. This is why Black people don't have time to be fighting over dumb stuff. And I got to keep it real PC, but because what we'll have is a white minority, which they are a minority globally. I wanted to say that earlier. White people are a super minority globally as well. But here in the United States, we'll mess around and be governed by a super minority like white people. Right now, they're still the majority, but we will still be colonized by white people if Black people don't get ourselves together economically, socially, politically, everything, and to ensure. And listen, the work has been done. We don't even have to start from scratch. There are so many blueprints. Dr. Amos Wilson, who was my Jagna, left us a blueprint for Black power. We have no excuse.
Thank you, sis. And I'll come right back to you with this question, Sister Zakiya. So what could be some of the benefits, or could the American military, these students who are at this military school, how could they benefit from studying this whiteness and learning about white rage? Or could they benefit?
I feel like in order for me to really answer that question well, I would actually have to know what they're learning. Just because they say they're teaching critical race theory, because I got to be honest with you, there's a lot of African American studies programs in universities around this country that ain't really African American studies. That was my experience at the university that I attended. So I guess, in order for me to really answer that question, are they really understanding white race? Like, are they really learning the truth? Or is that just a title of a course? Because I don't believe that they're honestly at a military academy. Are they really teaching CRT?
It's interesting. Good. That's a great point, bro. Lawrence, what's your take?
Yeah, I would say the same. I don't know exactly what it is that they are teaching. Now I would say this. Can white people learn something from studying Black people and Black history? Absolutely. And, it's the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan said that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, what he did was he put a mirror up in front of white people to help them to see themselves for who they really are. And he also put a mirror in front of Black people so that we could see who we really are. Because white people have a God complex and we have an inferiority complex. So once the two people can see themselves for who they are, it levels the playing field. And now we can start to learn, okay, Black people really did contribute to civilization, not just contribute, but actually built civilization. And because believe it or not, there are Caucasian people who do not know this. So yes, they can learn something from it. What exactly they're teaching, I don't know exactly what it is, but yes, they can learn something if it's really our history.
And I'll ask this question. We'll come with our sister and end with you, Brother Lawrence. They're just pulling their hairs out their head about this critical race theory. And as you pointed out, sister, it's not even being taught in K through 12. So should this be like a signal go off in Black people's head that we should even increase our efforts to make sure that we teach our children our history?
Absolutely, unequivocally, yes. Not only is CRT not being taught in K through 12 schools, they're not teaching the truth now in K through 12 schools. In fact, my husband and I, run a community organization where we have fought tooth and nail for culturally relevant curriculum. And that's for our children, our Black babies in majority Black schools, even learn about themselves, because the curriculum that these people have put into our schools is very Eurocentric. We're not learning about so absolutely. So I say all that to say we should absolutely be supplementing our children's education at home if we're not already homeschooling. And that is something that my family, that we have been doing ever since, our youngest began school. So the supplementing education is an absolute must for Black people. I cannot emphasize that enough. And I want to give a shout out to Brother Dr. Samari Kamara, who's down there where you are, Brother Willie, for creating the Kamali Academy. And he actually sells curriculum. And it's very reasonable. It's very reasonable. If we prioritize education in our children's, in our family and for our children, then we won't make any excuses of supporting the Kamali Academy. And certainly there are other curriculums out there as well, but that's just the one that we chose for our family.
Thank you. And Brother Lawrence, what do you have to say in these last 2 minutes?
Yes, I would, excuse me. Yeah, I would definitely say this. I saw something on Facebook, and there was a brother who was saying, when they say they don't want CRT taught in our schools, he says what they are really saying is, we don't want it in our school. You should teach that in your schools to your children. And so absolutely, we should teach that to our children. I remember the minister said about universities and colleges when he was doing this tour and they had banned him from university campuses. He said that a college university is supposed to be a place where people can be free to hear ideas and opinions that may even clash with their own ideas and opinions, but they should be mature enough to be able to hear, but make up their own minds. Now, listen to what the general also said. If you notice, the general said, this is a university, period. That's what he said. And now he says, I've read Mao Zedong. I've read Karl Marx. I've read Lenin. That doesn't make me a communist. He said, so what's wrong with having some situational understanding about the country for which we are here to defend?
Right. That's powerful. That's interesting. And you all are so many great responses, brothers and sisters. This needs to be longer. But we're at our next break. So we're going to pause from announcements from our sponsors. And then after the break, our contributors will share their thoughts on the election of the first Black woman mayor in the history of Buffalo, New York. I'm interested in hearing what they have to say. We'll be right back.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps to combat false media. Cash App NNV News.
Asiatic Minds, online education, helping our children to discover their God-given skills, gifts, talents, and passion that will allow them to see their greatness as well as the greatness of our people. And upon discovering that greatness, infusing them with the desire to use it for the betterment of themselves, their families, our people, and the world. Classes begin September 1st. To enroll, visit AsiaticMinds.com.
This is Sister Sajda Muhammad. We are proud to announce that the Sajda House commemorative Elijah coins are finally here. This priceless heirloom, made from recycled copper from the messenger's home, is now available at sajdahouse.com.
Greetings from National Network View. This week's Final Call cover story headline is dedicated to a champion in the liberation struggle. As Africa and the Black world are honoring the late Kenneth Kaunda, a hero of the struggle to free the motherland, a longtime statesman and leader in efforts to move Africa forward. Zambia's founding president recently departed this life at age 97. This remembrance and tribute includes a special message by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan regarding one of the giants of Africa. This FCN Volume Number 38 edition middle page article is entitled, "The Judgment of Allah Has Entered America." To read more, subscribe to FinalCallDigital.com and tune into the all-new Final Call Radio. This is the NNVNews.com Final Call Cover Report.
Please make sure you leave your comments and questions in the comment section below. Follow us on Facebook, National Network View, and make sure to check us out on Twitter as well, National Network View. This is Sergio Gutierrez with National Network View, signing off.
India Walton, who's known as a socialist community activist, has defeated the four-term mayor of Buffalo in a Democratic primary, putting her on track to become the first woman to lead New York's second largest city. She actually won the act.
All that we are doing in this moment is claiming what is rightfully ours. That's we are the workers. We are the workers. We do the work. And we deserve a government that works with and for us.
India Walton, the socialist candidate for mayor out of Buffalo, New York, is now the presumptive winner of that mayoral race. She has beat the Democratic incumbent and is poised to win, considering the fact that this is a heavily Democratic area. She will be the first socialist mayor in Buffalo, New York since the 1960s, but also the first female mayor of New York. And usually we'll hear from corporate Democrats focus on the identity portion of candidates without talking about the actual substance of the candidate. In this case, we have someone who is full of incredibly important ideas.
So Sister Zakiya, we'll start with you. What do you think about this historic victory of Sister India Walton? She spoke strong, huh?
Yeah, congratulations. Congratulations to the sister. I want to start a very positive. I understand politics, especially from the municipal level, because I have never run for office, but I've worked on campaigns, and I've been a part of understanding how the sausage is made, as a term that a lot of people use. And I will say that I think that it's good that she does have a worker and a working class focus. That's important. What I'm concerned about always, though, especially with politics now with Black leaders, is who is the hand behind the hand. Right? Like who's actually controlling the system, whether you got, white corporate Democrats or is it white leftists, right? So, I also want to know what if she even had a Black agenda, right? Like, because no matter what the issue is, even in working class communities or even along the working class spectrum, white working class people do better than black working class people. So there's always the issue of race, no matter how you slice it. And anti-black racism is the fulcrum of white supremacy in this country, meaning that black folks are always on the short end of the stick, and we're always worse off than most other identities in this country, economically, politically, all of that. So while I think that on the face of it, I think that it's good, but if her policies don't necessarily bring black people where they need to be, then it's just another sort of blackface and symbol. Yeah.
Good point. Great point. Brother Lawrence, great point, sis.
Yeah, I would definitely start off by congratulating the sister, and she absolutely does have a strong voice from what I'm seeing. And of course, you know, it's politics. And I would say this, the one thing that I do hope that our sister does have is strong people, black people around her that will help her and protect her. Because the thing about politics is, and the minister said this, it doesn't make a difference how strong we appear when we get into politics. Once you sit in that seat, there are others that actually control the seat. And we have to be strong enough to repel those forces that control the seat. And the only way we can do that is if we have the support of the grassroots, the people on the ground, that when we have to speak against power, they're going to be the ones that have our backs. So, you know, I congratulate our sister, and I hope and I pray that she can do some good for the people in Buffalo, New York. But we also should not get disillusioned in thinking that this is the answer to all of our problems. Politics is an answer, is not the answer. There is some good that can come out of politics, but it's not the complete answer. But of course, you know, a black woman, and she's speaking strong, you know, I'm right there with her. Let's go.
Let me ask you all this question. This is something that just came up and was past some of the questions I thought about already. And we'll start with you, Sister Zakiya. Do you think that in America, can black politicians run to host any political seat with a strong black agenda?
I think that there's ways to do that creatively. Yes. You know, long gone are the days where, you know, you could run with a strong black agenda outwardly. You know, simply because, you know, gentrification, certainly we have come a long way with the academy, especially that took the turn in the 90s where an all-out assault happened to Black Studies departments, strong Black Studies departments, where African-centered thinking and Afrocentricity came under full frontal attack. So that was replaced with, you know, intersectionality, all of these different things that you hear the young people talk about, where race has become decentered, even though our material conditions, race is still the biggest factor. But when you think about when you think about popular culture, and even when you hear certain black pundits on TV now, I can't hardly watch them because you're talking about a whole lot of nothing. This does not apply to so many black people who have been forgotten. Black people, unfortunately, from my view, are a caste in this country at this point. And it is the black gatekeeper class that you see most often that still provides the illusion that we have made it. But for those of us who live in our communities, all we got to do is go outside and maybe walk down the block a few, and we can see that's not true. I live in the DMV, which for people who don't know, DC, Maryland, Virginia, and in Washington, DC right now, the tent encampments have multiplied since COVID. So to answer your question, yes, it would have to be done very conspicuously and very creatively.
Beautiful, and I like that, and that is true. What do you think, Brother Lawrence?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I agree with that. It would have to be done in such a way as to not be so overt, So yeah, it can definitely be done. The question is, will it be done, and does the candidate have the necessary courage that it will take in order to do so, even if it's not so overt? Because white people will still understand that it's a black agenda and will try to do anything that they can to crush it. Does the person have the necessary fortitude to push through with the agenda is the thing. And I believe that candidate, if we put that candidate up and we back that candidate financially, then I believe that it can be done to a degree.
Thank you. And we'll close.
Real quick. Cynthia McKinney was the last sister on the federal level who really did that for us. And I have to remind Black people all the time that it was not the Republicans, but it was the Democrats who conspired, actually redrew that sister's district in such a way that she couldn't win again.
That's right.
That is true. And we'll briefly close out on this. So prior to this sister's election, from my research, there were 9 Black women serving as mayors of the nation's largest city. So from what you all know about them, how do you all assess the jobs that they're doing? And even what do you just think about how we're seeing this emergence of Black women into leadership positions? Either one.
I'm gonna have to kick the can on the Black women in leadership positions because that's gonna take a longer response, and it's very intentional, but it's not necessarily intentional for the benefit of Black people. And that may sound strange to people, but we'll have to unpack that at another time. As far as the mayors of these major cities, like, look at what's happening. I just said DC. One of them women that you had up there was Muriel Bowser. Come to DC and just ask Black folks in the community, especially in Southeast, meaning Ward 7 and 8, what they think about their mayor. Right? Because she is a tool for the developers, and she is a tool, unfortunately, of power and privilege. She is not there to serve the interests, particularly of poor Washingtonians.
Whew. So this is Zakiya with the fire, as always. Go ahead, brother. Brother,
I don't know if I want to go behind now, but let's see.
Same in Chicago.
It's the same. I would say this. There is some benefit. Most of what you see are figureheads. Now, I'm going to tell you, even though this is the third segment that we're doing, these segments really coincide with each other. If you really look at them, they really do. And it goes to white rage. White men in particular do not want to deal with strong Black men. They fear strong Black men. What's left after the strong Black man is the Black woman. And I think I'm gonna leave that other category out. Lil Nas X. And when you go into most of these fast food restaurants nowadays, who is the manager? They're Black, but it's not a Black man. It's a Black male or female. So what's happening is, remember, the social scientists are seeing the shifts that's taking place, and they want to be a part of that. So what's the trend now? Blackness is the trend. And in particular, who's at the front lines? Black women. So if we can back Black women, we can get our agenda across through Black women, because we've already made them to hate their Black man. And so the agenda is the same, it's just a different vessel that is coming through. Now, I'm not saying that our sisters don't have a good heart.
And we got to wrap it up, man.
Well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
man, listen, we're gonna have to do I'm gonna talk to them about doing a more extensive. We may have to do like it might be the State of Black America, whatever, but you all will definitely be on. Listen, man, thank you all for all of what you said, and we're gonna get these clips out. Thank you all for joining us again on this Monday. All right, peace.
See you next.
Yes. And for those who are watching, we thank you all for joining us today and tuning into National Network View News. Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, NNV News. This is your brother Willie Muhammad with National Network View News. Peace.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Go to nnvnews.com/donate.